Pope Leo. Today, on the 19th day of my action, I will talk about how different cultures have dealt with population growth and the different ways in which they chose to limit it. There are two categories of cultures: those that have dealt with population growth within their borders, and those that have exported their population growth problems. The first category of cultures is the result of polytheistic religions, represented here: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Shinto, Taoism. And while the second category is the result of monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In other words, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the so-called Abrahamic religions, have always exported their population problems onto others and have caused inestimable pain and suffering throughout the world. While Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Taoism, Confucianism, and Shintoism have solved their population problems internally and have never caused pain and suffering to other cultures. This is reflected in the geographic expansion of monotheistic religions, which is shown in these three maps. And this expansion was always bloody and brutal, versus the static nature of polytheistic and non-theistic religions, which have always been peaceful and harmonious. The geographic expansion of monotheistic religions went hand in hand with colonialism. And as you can see, at one time or another, the Western world, the white world, represented here in purple, has conquered and held the entire world, with the exception of Japan, North and South Korea, and Thailand. These are the only three countries that were never colonialized. The religions that monopolized God became violent and expansionist, whereas the religions that did not monopolize God remained peaceful and non-expansionist. As a result, monotheistic religions now occupy the vast majority of the world's landmass, with Christianity far ahead of Islam. And this is shown here in this map. The blue color, dark blue, purplish color, shows the extent of Christianity. Whereas the green shows the extent of Islam, the orange, the extent of Hinduism, and the red, the extent of the Chinese religions, which are Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. Whereas Hinduism and Taoism have maintained their footprint, they've never went outside their borders, conquering other people and imposing the religion on others. Christianity has devastated the entire world in order to impose its religion by force. Likewise, Islam has done that as well. Monotheistic religions are not religions per se, but ideologies of conquest and domination. And their first victims are free will and reason. This is what they destroyed first and replaced with blind obedience and irrationality. It is no wonder that China keeps all monotheistic religions at bay. China's leaders don't want their people's minds to be poisoned and occupied by these ideologies of conquest and domination, of blind obedience and irrationality. And that is why the entire world now flocks to the BRICS camp and flees the Western camp. The world prefers China's harmonious coexistence philosophy, even though it will not work. What the world needs now is a planetary well-being authority, not multipolarity, which didn't work in the past, and obviously it will not work today when the competition for resources is that much greater because we have 8.2 billion people. So we need a planetary well-being authority and a universal faith sanctum, not a suit of dozens of old relics, each competing for supremacy. To this day, the Judeo-Christian elites wants to conquer and dominate the world, which is why Israel is being supported by the same Western nations that have colonized the world. Israel is their base of operation and expansion into Islam. Israel is a Western front for halting the advance of Islam, for containing Islam, China, and India, which are the only areas of the world that still remain outside the domination of and control of Christendom. By the way, we see the percentage of whites in countries around the world, and as you can see, Caucasians have spread from Europe and Russia throughout the world, now dominating the entire Americas, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. The only territories that they were not able to occupy are those of North Africa and Asia, Southeast Asia, where China stood firm, and Hinduism, India stood firm and held on to their territories, to their cultures, and to their religions. So it is all about containing Islam, China, and India, and eventually taking them over and Christianizing these countries as well, so that Christendom can have a global control. It is for this reason that Netanyahu and the clowns who govern the United States, Germany, the UK, and all other Western nations talk about Israel defending civilization and doing the dirty work on behalf of the West. What they mean to say is on behalf of Christendom and for the sake of the Judeo-Christian civilization. And because this is the case, Pope after Pope issues tepid criticisms of war and lukewarm entreaties for peace, while the militant arms of Christendom continue to wage wars of expansion under various guises. The Church wants control over the entire world, and for the time being, Israel and its Jews are being used to weaken and destroy Islam, after which China will be next, and last, it will be India's turn. If we allow this lunacy to continue, the entire world will be destroyed by nuclear bombs, because the evil and greed of the Judeo-Christian elite knows no limits, and they would rather burn the world to the ground than share it. Pope after Pope preaches peace while forging plans of conquest through its most militant nations. Christianity itself has died from within because it is a relic from the distant past, but the Holy See still wants to rule over the entire world. Mankind has evolved, but Christianity has remained stuck in the Middle Ages and in crusade mode. And now it is once again at war, once again advancing, and will not stop until the entire world is purple or nuked. If you and your predecessors really meant peace, you would excommunicate any Christian who starts a war. And the same goes for the Islamic world, where they would issue fatwas against anyone who starts a war. Instead, you are giving them your blessings in private meetings, as has done every pope prior to you. That is why we need sanctum. Sanctum will finally civilize the Judeo-Christian and Islamic civilizations and bring them among the ranks of those that do not export their population problems onto others. For the time being, only China and India are civilized. Once the world's monotheistic civilizations embrace sanctum, they too will become civilized. Then the world will be at peace.